the destructive power, man. Like it's such a real thing for us as men. What has been in your experience of like of working with the energies of anger and rage and helping men, as we're both in this work, what have you seen be like, what are the rewards that come from reconciling with that shadow?
So many. I mean, right off the bat, especially if let's just talk about anger for a second. I've talked about this here on the podcast many times before, but to reemphasize, I don't trust somebody who hasn't gotten to know their anger. I think it's a relationship that we get to have. If you don't have a relationship with your anger, then you can't be trusted, because it's literally like having a loose cannon.
Could overtake your reality.
Absolutely, man. And that's what I'm talking about when I say pick up the newspaper, read a headline. That's these men that we see in these stories over and over again. The guy who shot up his family, went in and whatever, right? To me, it's a reflection of deep, long-standing pain, first of all, but then also an inability, or I don't know what the word would be. Someone who doesn't know how to have a relationship with that anger, who doesn't know how to contain it, who doesn't know how to redirect it. And so when we talk about the benefits of this, man, I mean, just not having to be at the mercy of your emotional state, right? But identifying it and recognizing, calling it, naming it as anger, and then having an outlet that is, again, not destructive, that is constructive, somewhere else that you can place it. There's a lot of really healthy things that you can do. And I mean, beyond just the individual journey, it's also a generational journey. One of my own exploration of my anger has overlapped with me being a father to a son and witnessing his raw experience of his emotions and his experience of witnessing me in my emotions, and being able to discover that simultaneously, but also mentor him a bit and encourage him to feel his emotions, feel his pain, recognize, learn, connect with the different emotions that he has, so that he knows them, so that they're not shocking. The first time I felt anger when I was 16, I was scared because no one around me knew what to do. My parents were like, calm down. You can't, when someone's in a fit of rage, you can't just like, oh, let me just hit that switch and calm down.
Suddenly suppress it.
Like turn it off, please turn it off. Where's the off button?
I'm uncomfortable, so you need to change.
Right, which again, it's generational, right? Because they didn't know how to do it. But that's probably the biggest benefit, is that we can do better for the ones who are coming after us, our children, our nieces, nephews, all of them.
We are missing the language of emotional intelligence from the modern world. This is something that I'm a huge stand for in being someone that's here to create new culture on the planet, and something I talk a lot about and have been talking a lot more about through the lens of shadow work, because I see this massive gap in the spiritual community and entrepreneurial communities around addressing the power and reality of emotion and the lack of emotional language in our culture, and this shaming and suppression and spiritual ideologies that come from the avoidance of and lack of acknowledgement of wounded feelings, and the nature of getting into touch with that work, and we just don't have the context for it, especially on a peer-to-peer level. Like some of us that have been doing this work, we tend to do it with mentors and healers and elders, and that's where I've been on a lot of that. And so for me, the process of creating that as a culture for our peers, it's actually scarier to let the mask down and have some real ownership over our emotions in connection with the peers. And this is why I think men's work is emerging on the planet at such a powerful level, because that's like one example of where peers can de-armor and demask themselves and have a big reveal of some of the deeper pain that's actually happening. There's spaces and contexts I've seen that are pretty progressive where it's happening with men and women, but that's few and far between as a society as a whole right now. We don't have that. We're just passing on the same shame, blame, guilt, suppression, projection, wrong making, all the games that go on around emotional pain.